Welcome, everybody. Good to see you all, even if it's only virtually. Nice fall day here in Rochester. Good day to be inside at a meeting. We're gonna make one change in the agenda. Sean and I discussed this earlier. We're gonna take the approval of the architects and engineers, table it for this meeting and take it up next month. What we were able to plan to do there was to do this selection, but we couldn't go forward with a contracting process. And that's the way the resolution is written until we got approval of the plan. So it's no longer on the it's actually longer on the critical path. Critical path is approval of the plan. Just in case there's something that comes up in that approval process that needs some rectification with respect to these selections, we'll have the opportunity to do it. We're hopeful that the comments from SED will be received within the week. And if that's the case, then we'll do what we got to do to turn that around as quickly as we can and go forward with the process. So that's where we are. Good news is that the process of selection is finished. You know, there's several weeks worth of delay and work and time there that's now behind us. And so we can take advantage of it as we bring this up for approval, final approval. That being the case, the first item of action for our agenda is the minutes of the previous meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
This is Rich. I'll move it.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye, or raise your hand.
Aye.
Stands approved. Pay requisition, Kim Jones.
Okay, so we have proposed payments to 100 Carlson Road LLC totaling $6,047.25. Payment to Anshin totaling $10,548.75. Payment to Bond, Shomick and King totaling $11,041. Payment to Savin Engineers totaling $256,482.61. Payment to Sealer Engineering totaling $11,541.50. And lastly, a payment to Watts Architecture and Engineering totaling $51,194.26. Total payments of $346,855.37. Any questions?
Any comments or questions? Kim, can you turn that up a little bit? It's got some volume to it. Usually we can hear them quite well. We can hear the beep pretty well. Okay, questions or comments? This is the material that was distributed to you in advance. Hearing or seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the requisitions for this month. For the previous month, I should say.
This is Rich. I'll move it again.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments or questions? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Stands approved. Just in time, since he worked on the next item. It's very clever the way you did that, Jesse. The next item on here is with respect to the insurance and bond review consultant that needs to be retained. This we do need to go forward with, even though the bulk of their work will occur after the project begins and they're reviewing the construction work. But as long as we continue to exist as a board and do things as we are doing and have consultants and people are working on it, we need the insurance to be in place. So we need the person who helps us pick the insurance to be in place. So this is something that we need to do now or do this month. The material included in, or the stuff that was included in your packet, and material that explains the process that people went through and makes the recommendation with respect to the consultant. It's a consultant that we've had experience with before and has experience with the project. Anybody want to comment on that, who were participated in the selection process?
I'll comment on it. We had two firms that submitted proposals. And there was a distinct difference between the two. Farley had much more experience. They were a larger firm also. So, and having history with the construction board, we felt that they were the best option for us to go with out of the two.
Good. And our experience with them in the past has been good. You know, we've got experience with them and it's worked out all right. Once this project gets going, when we've got 2 or 3, construction contracts underway or more, then this becomes very important, obviously. Any other comments or questions about it?
One thing, Mr. Chairman, because their bid came, we had several conversations with them because they're in it under the $25,000. They didn't have to have a requirement for MRW or any participation, but they do realize if there was a change order, and they go over that, they would have to.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep. Thank
Other comments or questions? Seeing or hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the selection as proposed.
I'll move it.
It's been moved.
Second.
Seconded. Thank you to the people that spent the time to go through the process and make the selection.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing or seeing no other further comments, all those in favor say aye. Raise your
Aye.
hand. They're selected. Item number 4, as described earlier, is tabled for the present. The next item is the annual report, which was circulated. Kim, do you want to comment on this?
Yes, Chairman. We reviewed the annual report from the previous years to begin to build foundation for this year without much construction going on. We engaged an outside consultant to work with us to prepare the actual document. And you will see in the packet, the draft was in there, but we have finalized the document since then. So the annual report, it did not change any of the content. We were careful to show a lot of work, the history of the program in this particular volume. And as we get going with construction, you will see more in terms of the actual construction of phase 3. So it is, the content has been finalized now and is ready to be prepared for distribution per the legislation.
Yeah, this is a report that's required by the legislation that we have to submit annually. It's due the 30th of this month.
That's correct.
The format that you see here has been used before for the first 2 phases, and so far has been reasonably well received to my knowledge. I'm trying to think if there are any other issues. Well, also the distribution with respect to it is mandated by the the legislation, in the sense that the specific places it needs to be sent are listed. Now, we can share it with anybody. It's a public document here as soon as we approve it, but it goes to all kinds of people in the state government and others. Okay, comments or questions about it? If not, we're going to entertain a motion to approve it so it can be distributed on time. It's been moved. Is there a second?
A second.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Kim. Thank you for your work on this, and thank you to the program manager people that also worked on this. I know it took a fair amount of work. As you can see, there's a lot of information in here, and we've collected it all in one place. It's obviously we'll give everybody here a final copy of it. It's something you can hang on to because he actually is, if things occur during the course of the project and you're wondering about things that happened in the past, the information tends to be here. So, you know, expenditures on individual projects and all that kind of thing. So it can be a reference. I hope so, because a lot of work went into it. Okay, next item on here is item number 6, which is the cooperative agreement. We've talked about this before. This is the product of the kind of unusual way in which this project, facilities modernization project, has been created. There is a significant amount of work that's required to be done when we've been engaged in and will be engaged in for a while. Before the projects can start, the projects have to be ready to go and ready to start in terms of design and so forth, before the bonds can be issued and approved by the state. And yet there's no way to pay for that. That just was, and so we've had to, in the past, get temporary financing or assistance from either the district or the city. And then as soon as we get to the point of paying the bonds or issuing the bonds, we pay them back. And this becomes part of the total cost project. But that's why the cooperative agreement comes up, because that ordinarily most of the way in which we spend money here and in which we finance this project is mandated or created by the statute. This is not. So what we need is an agreement to cover this interim time here where people make clear to each other, you know, who's going to do what and who's going to pay for what, and that they're going to get paid back. And so that's why this needs to be written down. There's no disagreement on that. No one is, you know, fighting that it needs to be done or that it'll be done that way. But it's a lot of money and it should be memorialized in some fashion, and that's what it's for. It's been approved by the Board of Education, and you'll see the copy that you got in your materials was signed by the president, by the superintendent. It's now before the city and working their way through their process. It's not news to them. They're expecting it, and I'm not anticipating a problem with it, but it needs to go through the city council process.
And so the plan is
so-
to the August meeting here.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. And of course, we have to agree to it as well. And that agreement is what's being voted on here today. Okay, questions or comments about it? You know, I thought someone would ask, why is it called a cooperative agreement? Why isn't it a cooperation agreement? Cooperative, I think, relates to your attitude, not to what you're going to do. So maybe there is a reason for it. Yeah, maybe it's not such a, you know, we're not making it up. Oh, attitude or what? Any other questions or comments about it? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Been moved. We need a second. Moved and second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. Okay, that gets us through the business of the day that has to be approved. We're now at the program manager's report. I know Pepin is, I think, on the phone here, is he not? You want to say anything, Pepin, from your mystery location?
I am on the phone, Mr. Chairman. It's quite noisy where I am in Mexico. So I was hoping either Rolly Coleman or Terry LeConte could help me present the program manager's report, if that's okay with you and the board.
Yeah. You know, Pepin, those Mexican bars are famous for being noisy. I don't know why you call in from there.
It is. I was trying to get into the room, but they said it won't be ready for me until 4 o'clock. And my wife and I got here a little early so we can participate in this meeting, but they said they need to get the place ready for us. So sorry about that.
Okay,
In any case,
happens at a. Go ahead, go ahead.
no, like I said, I do know that, both Rolly Coleman and, Rick Stoffel and Terry helped me, with this report. They are very capable of presenting it. If you're okay with that, I'll ask Rolly and others to help me with this because of the noise.
Okay, away we go. Rolly, why don't you start?
Happen, cannot be, placed in all honesty with regard to the cost summary. Goes the numbers back with the boards, so I don't think, there's anything unusual, unexpected document that we shared. Should there be questions, we certainly can entertain them. But things are moving along and they're very slowly ramping up in terms of expenditures, which you certainly can see along the towards the bottom of the matrix with percent completed. Gives you a relative feel of each project's approved total budget actually expended to date. And it also summarizes and encapsulates that Franklin at 30% of the program is the largest in this phase and the largest ever undertaken by RSMP. So everybody's keeping their eye on Franklin, which is a 3D project. But the expenditures are going to plan as of this time.
Yeah, the report is detailed this month, so, and you received it in advance, so that's something. Rick, you got anything to add?
Nope.
Does anybody on the board have any questions or comments about anything in the report?
I have one quick question. And it's up there now on strategic and financial plan submission. It says, right there, that provides more equitable, qualitative and durable school building. Do we mean quality there? I just want to be, I'm not aware of how qualitative, like how a building is qualitative. That was my one question in reviewing this.
That is because the standards have been improved, the district standards have been improved, and we are employing far more durable both materials as well as infrastructure and system components. They are not at the shall we say customary level. They are just a higher energy approach to the facilities and systems of the building.
Those words are the districts, are they not?
They do come from that, yes.
Okay.
So
All right, thanks. I'm not sure I'm clear what qualitative means for a building, but I can move on. That's fine.
Well, a classic example would be flooring, where we are using thin set terrazzos as opposed to VCT, which are the customary approach.
Yeah, but that's not what he's asking, really. He doesn't question durable. He's
No.
saying what's the word qualitative, how does that relate to a building? It's like the joke I just made about cooperative.
Very, very, very true.
I think that's what you're after, wasn't it, Rick?
Correct, Chairman.
I think the approach has also been to make the buildings far more aesthetically and otherwise attractive, both inside and out, so that there's a whole sense of arrival presence and the kids feel good about the environments that they're in. So we could have many a discussion on the qualitative aspects, and one I don't want to belabor here, but it does reflect the district's attitude with regards to their program.
Yeah, but I don't, that word is wrong. He's right about that. We're talking about quality here of the building. We're not talking about qualitative. Qualitative would be an amount that you were doing. So I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this.
Nah,
Everybody knows what they're saying here, but that particular use of the word, I don't think is correct.
I was just a qualitative versus quantitative, but if it's just referring to of the quality, I'm getting, yeah, I don't want to spend any more time. It sounds like that's from Raleigh's explanation. It sounds that's I just haven't seen that use of the word, but I also wasn't not an English major, so that's fine.
No,
Okay.
we can certainly tighten up the language in those reports. The plan was to make it one page, but when you had 3 people work on it, it kind of took a life on its own. But we will do better as far as our choices of
Okay.
words for
We'll
this
just,
report.
change
It
the
was-
word.
it
Just
Yeah.
change the word.
Overall, this was
Okay.
excellent. It was just the one word I was just curious about when I read it. I thought about it. I'm like, I'll ask, but I'm good. No, this is high quality. I think you're concise but thorough. No, I wouldn't. I have no issues with the report. There was one word I got hung up on. I didn't mean to get all of us hung up on it. I'm happy to move on. Thank you.
I'd be embarrassed if I was you, happen, but the engineer caught you on an English mistake, but so be
That
it.
is true.
Eh,
Thank you.
Speaking of reports, if there are no further questions on this one. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you had something.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wanted to comment on a couple of things. Under PLA, the project labor agreement, one explanation of the point where it says no further formal action of the PLA expected until projects are closer to procurement. That really applies to the design packaging going into SED where with the PLA, the option of going with single prime versus multi-prime is part of that decision that needs to be made. And we need that for the design documents, because we have to actually scope out contracts within the final design document within each project when it goes into final approval for SCGs and for each project individually. The first project, that date would be September of next year. That's the what that note was referencing. We also need that decision earlier for the reason of incurring the CM. There was the difference in cost from the CM for managing a multi-prime versus a single prime. Now, we could buy ourselves more time in making that decision by asking for an option in pricing for managing a single prime versus multi-prime, because that additional cost won't really hit until you get closer to procurement and they're putting those documents together that go to S&P. But when we do need to see them on board prior to that, or the other pre-construction activities, again, as I mentioned, the way we would facilitate that later decision on the billing is by getting an alternate price or an option price for single prime versus multi that we could exercise later. Because I think if everything goes well time-wise, we hope, we'll be looking for permission to publish an RFP for CM at the next meeting in July. So we wanted to point that out just to get, it's thinking about it.
Well, you're gonna have to do that, right? Because we're not gonna have a final resolution with respect to the PLA next month.
Right.
So you're gonna have to do an alternate, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I mentioned,
Okay.
just to clarify that one note, in the PM report. And,
Well, also there is clearly the update that last week, I believe, the district had received communication from SCG. Anxiously awaiting comments that may come as early as this week regarding the financial plan. And we certainly stand ready to respond to any and all questions and support the district in that regard. So you have to bear in mind, this was drafted almost 2 weeks ago, but nonetheless, to bring you up to date, what's going on right now. We've already discussed, I think, and you've approved the insurance aspects. And we've already discussed and put on hold the design professional aspects. The master schedule, I think there is a brief update that Terry, you could help us with.
yeah, with the latest information, from SED, providing, comments, on the strategic plan by the end of this week. Depending on what those comments look like, we're anticipating needing to respond to the comments and then anticipating hopefully a short period of time for review, since they would only need to review our responses versus re-review the whole document again. We're hoping that it would be an efficient time period for a review. We're still looking at, compared to what we were anticipating originally, potentially a 1 month delay, to 2 month delay on what we were anticipating originally. And, that could have some effect on the original plan. For instance, I had compared the schedule of the submission to SED. Originally, we had sort of staged the project so that we were minimizing the number of plans in for review between different projects into SED at the same time to, not overwhelm them. This, it has a couple of, it adds a few reviews that are going to wind up being simultaneous. It's not an overarching huge problem, but it does complicate things a little bit. And then there are some potentials. Some of the original completion dates were right at the threshold of being able to move the students back into the building at a convenient time. It's right at, a few of the jobs are right at that threshold. Franklin, and if we have a 2 month delay at Wilson, it could change us from a summer move back in to a Christmas break move back in, which complicates Douglas because of Wilson, because we need swing space. Franklin moving from a summer break to a Christmas break, we could probably handle that together and how we stage the move back in. But it could very well have an effect on Wilson. We just have to see what those comments are. Just address them as quickly as we can and then communicate with SED to try to get a very efficient. Those are the major points.
Okay. We've been asked to provide a quarterly report to be provided to the Board of Education and also to other people at the district, and that first of those is due the end of this week. Kim and others have been working on it, and I've reviewed it a couple of times. We'll have it ready to go here in time to get it submitted to them. And we're trying to get a format here that we can reuse every time so people can follow the progress easier. That material will also be shared with you, obviously. There's nothing new in there, other than the things we've been going over here for quite some time. But it would be new to someone who didn't participate directly in these meetings, so that's the idea behind it. Okay, other comments or questions on that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do have a question in regards to the RFP that was released for architectural services for Franklin. Does the board want us to suspend the process, or we keep going and receive proposals, knowing, that SCD had some reservations about moving forward with the selection process, and then we just stop and not award until we get the approval?
Yeah, Pep and I want to weigh in on that. We can't obviously award anything there until we get the issue with the plan cleared up with SED, and there's a process for doing that. But it's going to be important to us to get back what we're going to get back with Franklin as soon as we can. That is far and away the biggest project we're doing and the toughest. And we may well get in number two. I'm concerned about how many proposals we get. And second of all, even if we get a good, you know, representative sampling, which we did for the first two, we may find that they challenge some of the things in our proposal. In other words, we're likely to get some feedback this time about whether or not things can be done this way or that way, or whether the schedule is realistic and they're willing to sign on to it. The sooner we find that out, the better. And we can find that out by going through the process right up to the point of actually making an award to someone. So that's how I'd like to handle that.
Yes, and I totally appreciate that and thank you for that decision. So we will move forward. And I think it's the right decision, obviously. And we'll just sit and wait for more instructions. Thank you, sir.
But we've got, the process is underway already. And so when would we start hearing? What's Terry, what's the return date? Approximately.
It's the 11th of July. This Thursday, we have a walk.
Okay.
And we contacted, you know, with the list that we sent the RFP to originally for the first two. Everybody that did not respond, we contacted. And we right now we assume that the ones that submitted on the first two submit for Franklin also. We will have an additional five proposals, five firms that have expressed interest in proposing in addition to the four that we had originally. And we've got two maybes that they're looking at the RFP, walk the building, and then make a decision on whether it fits them or not. So we actually were hearing some things out on the street that some of the firms were waiting for this one to come out and consciously were completing work to get ready for the big job to come out. And that's the reason why they passed the first two.
Were these, Terry, the ones that you said, the ones that didn't respond to the call? Did they have any feedback?
That was sort of the feedback that we were getting, is that, you know, the first time around, you know, they still had a lot of work, they were finishing things
Kind of
up.
waiting.
And, you know, they had seen that the big one was coming out. We had, you know, one of our architects from phase two, we've been in contact with, you know, for the last year. They've been waiting for the program to come back around again. You know, we were really surprised they didn't propose on the first two. We found out was they were waiting for this.
And the fact that they're gonna do the walkthrough is an example of what I mean. The sooner people get a feel for this, and any of you, most of the people in this room have been into Franklin. If you've been in that, it's hard to appreciate Franklin if you haven't been in it. It is one big place. And it's old and it's been cut up by, you know, various different uses and so forth. So it's going to be a big project.
Also based on responses, obviously, the selection committee ultimate order you face. You can we have all your eggs in one firm with two projects that a whole other dimensions of the more competition that we could stir up, which is that have been made, and that will indeed submit more choices and flexibility to the board.
Okay, other items of business? Two sort of housekeeping issues. One, I think this is Sean's last meeting, isn't it?
No, I'll be here next month.
You next month? Okay. Oh, I apologize. I wasn't trying to get rid of you. You've been a great board member, but
No, I'm here for July,
okay.
and then I'm gone.
Then I'm gone. All right. Well, we'll congratulate you next time. And I think the interim superintendent joined us too. Jacob, you want to introduce your boss here and get some points?
Pleasure introducing who's currently our deputy superintendent of teaching and learning, but as of July 1st will be us.
Well, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Anything else to come before us? Seeing or hearing none, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.